Alright guys, so it's been a while since filmed the video, but figured I would take the opportunity to just take a quick video on the 2023 Honda Ridgeline that I got. Once again doing the 24-hour CarMax test drive, and this is one that I've been wanting to do a test drive on for a while. Again, just going through the trucks to see which, or I mean even more so just trucks, but just to see what the next vehicle would be, once it comes time to either get rid of the Colorado or, thinking that I want something more different. I've definitely pondered into the more traditional pickup trucks, such as the Tacoma, the Tundra, even the F-150, and for a while I was pretty much set on it being the Tundra, right? I made that video honestly a while ago, and I went back and watched it and thought it would be the right one. But kind of the more so way I think about it is, would it be overkill? Obviously the gas mileage I got back then on that was 19 miles per gallon, and I mean, that was in the middle of summer and me going pretty easy. I mean, normally how I drive anyway, but just thought, would that be maybe too much, right? Um, Obviously prices for Tundras and everything, especially the Tacomas too, they're always going to be super inflated. I mean, you can't find a well-optioned one, or even one that has low miles, under 100,000 miles, if that. You're still going to always be creeping around 30-some thousand dollars, even more so. So I've done a lot of video watching and research on the Honda Ridgeline. And for the longest time, I never really gave it any thought because, everyone says, oh, it's not a truck, it's just a Pilot with a bed. And the big thing is it's not body on frame, and it also doesn't have four-wheel drive. And in New Jersey, Delaware, we just got a ton of snow the last few weeks, especially New Jersey. We got over 1.5 feet. And I, had my Colorado four-wheel drive, obviously a lifesaver with getting out of the driveway and driving around town. And that's why I thought, oh, well, I definitely need four-wheel drive. But as I've done research on this, even though it doesn't have the same ground clearance as my Colorado, I believe my Colorado has about 11 inches. This might be only 6 or 7. A lot of people have said that the all-wheel drive system on this Ridgeline is amazing, especially in the snow. Like, people have said they've gone through many, many, many inches of snow with this and had no problems. Because I have to be realistic with what I'm actually going to do in my day-to-day life, right? Do I need that actual four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? Comparing the two, do I need that super suspension articulation or not? I don't really go off-roading much as like a hobby. It is nice to know that I have it there for if I would ever need it. But the more so I think about it is, am I buying that just on the basis of if, or what I actually do in my day-to-day life? Which my day-to-day life right now, just driving to work, definitely use the bed a lot and hauling things. Store runs, hospital runs with my girlfriend, if she ever needs to go there. Light off-roading, nothing crazy, grass, dirt. There's like some hills and ruts and stuff. That's normal, but nothing wild, like you need a TRD Pro. So when I really sat down and thought about it, I said to myself, let me be realistic. A lot of people buy vehicles for what they want their life to be. A lot of people buy vehicles for that if, or what they like to imagine themselves doing. But as I get older, I start to think about more, mature decisions, more actually grounded decisions and what would be a smarter move, and not just thinking with the imagination. I mean, think about how many people drive around TRD Pro Tacomas, TRD Pro Tundras, never see off-road to the light of day. Now, if you like the look of it, all right, I get that. But, it comes down to me still driving a lot. Gas mileage, again, not like I'm selling my Colorado tomorrow, but just thinking of my current situation and, if I don't drive as much, again, what would make the most sense? So this is where I thought of the Ridgeline. And I've so far driven about 70 miles on this, getting it this early afternoon, and I have averaged about 25 miles per gallon, which I think is phenomenal. I think it's a good looking truck. I used to not, but honestly the looks on it have grown. It's got just over a 5-foot bed. I'd say it's like 5'4", maybe something around there. It's definitely shallow. That's the biggest thing. It's not as deep as a traditional bed. It's is what it is. Like I said, it's not too deep, but the biggest thing here, and what people fail to neglect to talk about, is this is the only mid-sized truck where you can fit a full sheet of plywood in there between the wheel wells. These little humps you see are the wheel wells. That's it. You can fit very wide things in these and not worry about the wheel wells getting in the way. You can't do that in Tacoma. Can't do that in Colorado, definitely. So I think for really what it compensates for with having a shallow bed is it can handle a lot of things a lot more wider. I thought that was cool. Now the tailgate, again, what I've really valued in this truck, like I said, getting older, I value comfort more, versatility. I don't care what people think anymore of really what vehicle it looks like I'm driving. But when it comes to versatility, this is really what I think this vehicle exceeds at. So you do have the traditional tailgate. Let me see here, 1 second. It's this CarMax dealer plate was in the way. It's actually locked right now. That's why. That's my fault. Let me unlock it. Sorry about that. Don't really have 2 videos. But there you go. It has a locking tailgate, remote locking tailgate, which is a very cool feature. But it has a normal, not dampened, but it has a normal tailgate, right? Pretty wide. Also has, which I think is a very cool feature, is right here. You grab down below here, find the grab handle for it. It also opens like a door. And what do you see in there? Bed lights, which definitely come in handy as well. How many mid-sized trucks have bed lights? Not many unless you get the high trims. So this would make actually loading things a heck of a lot easier, is having this tailgate open like this. I think it's an amazing feature. I mean, look at I'm 5'7", but look at the load angle. You're not trying to lift it over a tailgate, trying to lift it over the the bed sides. This is a practical load height, and it's a wide bed. And again, the cargo area does not stop here. And I'm just comparing this to mid-sized trucks. Obviously, you get in the full size, yeah, you're going to have, ample space. But when we're talking about the mid-size segment, this thing is amazing, because you also have an in-bed trunk. Now, this, I think, had like a dealer installed option of dividers, wherever this truck came from. But this is a very, very, very deep trunk. It's watertight, can fit lots of things in there. And then there's your spare tire. It's not under the bed getting rotted away, and God forbid you break down or something, then you got to get under the truck and put the the tire thing through the back bumper and make sure it's not rusted out, and we don't have to worry about it with this. And like I said, you have this huge area, which I think you can use for so many things. You know, groceries, tools. Honestly, if I were to get a Ridgeline, I'd probably put my tools here. But that's the other thing that I think the Ridgeline exceeds at, is storage, not only on the outside, but on the inside as well. I want to say this is one of the most spacious interiors where it comes to a mid-sized truck, right? And I'll just put this into perspective before we even go through all the features. This truck has 27,000 miles. It is going for, I think, 31 or 32,000. And this thing is absolutely loaded with features. Features that definitely don't come standard on mid-sized trucks. And if you want these features, you have to pay out the wazoo for a mid-sized truck to have these features. Some mid-sized trucks don't even have these features at all available. But like I did mention with the in-bed trunk, I said, oh, maybe I'll put my tools there. And then I mentioned the interior space. Now, why did I mention the interior space? Because I think, again, one of the most spacious interiors when it comes to the mid-sized trucks. This back seat, now my riding position for the driver's seat is maybe a bit higher and forward than most. I like sitting high up. But look at this under-seat storage space. This is completely flat with the exception of the hold downs that goes for the seat. But look at how, like, look at this. If I can turn the light on. Look at that. You have a ton of under-seat storage space. And I believe you can fit 3, is it 5-gallon? I think I saw someone put 3 5-gallon tote bags or something like that. 5-gallon tote boxes, like storage boxes, under here. And you have ample under-seat storage space. Nothing compared to the Tacoma or the Colorado, the new Colorado, Frontier. The under-seat storage space on those sucks. Like, that's the number one complaint I hear about these new modern mid-sized trucks. It's the storage space inside is horrible. And I don't like that, because then what's the versatility on that? You know, you buy these trucks, obviously, you know, you want a smaller footprint, smaller space, you know, you don't need a huge truck, which, you know, again, I'm teetering between, do I really need a Tundra, or can I just really go with a Ridgeline? But this Ridgeline is amazing with storage space inside and out. You can also easily flip up these back seats. I'll do the other side too. Which, like I said, leads to about near flat or flat rear trunk area. I mean, that's fantastic for a mid-sized truck. And you can load so much stuff in there. And that's what got me. Because a lot of the tools and stuff that I have in my Colorado right now, if they're not in the cooler that's in the bed, in my Colorado, I put them under the seat, and they could barely fit under there. This would probably fit most of the tools I have. The rear passengers, at least on this trim, which I think this might be a trim above Sport, I think it's RTL. You get rear vents, and you also get a armrest, 2 cup holders, and a little storage cubby. And then back here, you also get another cup holder back here in the door, little cubby, little thing right here. That's just for the, you know, to close the door, but that's amazing. And then you got 2 mat pockets. Again, storage galore. This one also comes with a sunroof and a power moving rear window in the middle. Again, I talk about value. Look at all these features in this truck. A little over 30,000, right? I think that's absolutely fantastic. So we're going to take a look in the front here. Close this as well. I believe this comes with a 3.5 liter V6, one of the staple V6 engines that Honda has offered for many years. There you can see one of the features, again, not standard on many trucks, but that just happened, is the proximity key. You get out, you walk away, the truck automatically, I know people are going to joke that I say car, but it automatically locks. You grab the door handle, unlocks. Simple as that, on both passenger and drivers. Now, my girlfriend has a 2018 Honda Civic Touring, so a lot of these features, like the proximity walking away and the handle, are on that too. So it is nice to have very similar features to that, because I've grown accustomed to her car, drove it a lot. As you can see here, ample storage space in the door. Not only have this for a little handle, but you can put something there, but storage space here, along here, in the bottom. This has also memory seats. So when you press that to open the gas door. And then, as we step in here, what other features you got? They have the lane departure assist. If you go over the lines, the steering wheel will start shaking like that. You also have, let me turn on the vehicle. This is push button, by the way. Honestly, the V6 doesn't sound too bad. You can see the seat and everything just moved by itself, which is nice. When you park and get out, the seat moves back a little bit to allow you to get out comfortably, which is nice. It also has, as you can see there, if you were to, the forward collision alert, so if you're getting close to somebody, you're approaching them fast, something like that, you're not braking, the car will automatically brake and slow down. Got the cargo light. This vehicle also comes with the heated seats, 3-stage heated seats. Has auto HVAC controls, which, I mean, look at this. What mid-size truck, as far as I know, we saw the vents where you can have rear HVAC. That, I think, is fantastic and amazing. You also got the front heated, rear heated, and heated mirrors, which is very nice when it comes to the cold and the snow. And then also here, put on the light so we can see, you got a little storage cubby here. That's currently where I put my wallet. This is my phone. It's a rubber mat, so things do not slide easy. I'm going to plug in here so I can show you the Apple CarPlay. Again, it has a rubber mat, so things are very secure there. It's got a power outlet and the USB for the data receiver to get the Apple CarPlay. And then you have armrests here, which are nice. It's perfectly situated, so if I put my left arm here on the left and the arm here on the right, it's completely symmetrical, very comfortable. And the center console here is a sliding center console. You got more outlets and aux cord right there. It's very deep at the bottom. Again, is rubber mat, so things don't slide around. And then you got a little movable cubby here, so you can put some things there. Now, I do want to say in the newer models of the Ridgeline, where I believe they updated this gauge setup, the newer Ridgeline has the same branding and design language that the current Civic and I want to say Accord, but the current Civic and other SUVs in that lineup as well have a more traditional looking tach, but it's also digital. It doesn't have this giant mile per hour thing right there. It looks a little bit more simple. But anyway, the reason I'm saying that is in newer Ridgelines, they took away the armrests and they took away this sliding center console, which honestly, I like this a lot better. You have this huge flat area, huge center console, movable cubby, and I love the armrests. But in newer Ridgelines, they took away the armrests and they put a very big traditional center console setup where you get a lift up. I think that's okay. I personally prefer the armrest and the sliding center console, but I don't know. That's what they wanted to do, be more truck-like, I guess, more traditional. This vehicle also comes with the sunroof, and there's the power rear window. Yeah, I mean, this truck, man, I really do enjoy it. I want to say, I know I said in the Toyota Tundra video that was the most comfortable vehicle I've ever been in, but when I think about the utilitarian and practicality features that this truck has, which I really do appreciate, everything from all of this being actual physical buttons, granted the shifter, it doesn't have a gear shifter. This is because they switched over, I believe, in either 18 or 19. Please don't quote me. It might have been 19 and newer. They went from the Honda-made 6-speed automatic transmission to then the German-made ZF9 transmission, which that transmission does not have an actual gear lever. So this is what you get, which I personally do not see anything wrong with this. I don't. I mean, yes, do I prefer a shifter up here? Yes. Do I prefer a shifter that you can move? Yes. But if this is what is offered, really haven't seen too many problems. I think the only problem someone said is it takes a little bit of a, not delay. It's like literally half a second, if less, delay from going from drive to reverse. But I believe that is just a feature of the ZF9, just how it behaves. But like I said, people want to joke and say this isn't a truck, it's just a Pilot with the bed. It has all the minivan interior features and stuff, Well, I'll have you know. Like I was saying earlier, the V6, I believe it makes about 280 horsepower. It's one of the tried and true 3.5 liter V6s that the Honda has made. It does have that cylinder deactivation, which, don't even get me started on that with the General Motors trucks. But I don't believe it is anything close to as detrimental as what that is. This cylinder deactivation and all, you just got to make sure you keep on top of your oil changes. But like I said, it has, great engine. ZF9 transmission is very smooth and proven to be reliable. But the comments that people made, it's not body on frame, don't really need it unless you need suspension articulation. The payload in the bed of this truck is about 1,500 pounds. That's plenty that I really need. The bed is actually a few inches longer than my Colorado. I believe my Colorado is 5'1" bed. This might have, like I said, a 5'3", 5'4" bed. For what it makes up on it being shallow, it's a wider bed. You don't have to deal with wheel wells. It has a in-bed trunk storage, watertight. You can open the tailgate both down and sideways. And then the interior is absolutely I mean, it's spacious. People joke and say it's like a minivan. Yeah, well, when I'm looking for a truck, especially in a mid-size segment, I wanted to have these minivan features. I wanted to have ample storage space. I wanted to have big storage on the doors, in the middle here, the armrests. I mean, that's comfort, right? You want comfort. It's got all the storage over here, and then you want your back seat, you know, passengers comfy and all that. Then yeah, and here, I'll show you. I'll show you what the back seat is, because I'll tell you right now, the Colorado I have, back seat is okay. Certainly nothing to write home about. But look at this. Like I said, I'm going to sit behind myself at 5'7". Okay? Look at this. I mean, come on. And this seat's almost all the way back. And this is like standard. This is like standard size on the Tacoma when you're trying to make room. So, you know, I've basically gotten over the stigma and everything of saying, oh, it's just a Pilot with a bed. I think really what people need to do, and I'm sure many people have said this, is put away the stigma of, oh, well, I need people to know that I drive a truck. I need people to know that, you know, I'm going to sacrifice comfort and everything because I'm going to drive around a giant Tundra. Now, am I going to say that I'm, you know, maybe one day I'll have a Tundra? I might. But the more I look at this Ridgeline and think about what my day-to-day life really needs, and what most people really need in a day-to-day with a truck, I think this is perfectly fine. If you need that 6.5 foot bed and a bigger payload, yeah, don't get a Ridgeline. If you're gonna go super off-roading, you need super suspension articulation, you know, you need lockers, you know, you're rock crawling, don't get a Ridgeline. That's not what that's for. But if you're looking for a practical vehicle that, I mean, let's face it, how many people do you see driving around with short beds anyway? And this has a few inches more than a regular short bed at 5 feet. You have that. You have the amazing storage space of, you know, what many people rave about in SUVs and minivans. You have that. You have the big center console and stuff for storage. You have physical gauges and buttons. You have an easy to read cluster. You have good gas mileage, by the way. Like I said, I've been just cruising around town and highway, and I'm at 25 miles per gallon. I can almost guarantee you that if this was the middle of summer and it got up to operating temperature completely fine, this would probably be in the very, you know, about 26, 27, 28. Okay? You have all-wheel drive, perfectly fine for the snow, perfectly fine for, you know, light off-roading and trails and stuff. Again, you're not going to be going where Jeeps are going, but it gets done what 90% of people drive in every day, and even more so. You have amazing backseat storage and backseat room for your passengers. It has nice features like heated seats. You have the in-bed trunk. It opens. It's easy to load things in. You can hold a sheet of plywood in there, completely flat. It's a good truck. And unfortunately, like I said, I think people really do overlook these vehicles because they're afraid. They're afraid of their image. And I think what most of this people, I was going to say this country, but what most people need to do is get over the image that you feel like you need to present to people. As I put this in the drive, I think you really do. And is this me talking to myself? Many years ago, when I was, you know, mid-teens, late teens, I cared about what people thought. I think a lot of people do, teenagers and stuff do. But I have thankfully gotten to the point to where I don't really care what people think anymore. I don't. I'm going to be who I am because it's who I am. And I believe that even when it comes to vehicles, I'm going to use and get what I, want to drive, or drive what I drive, because not because it's what I want people to think of me, not because it's what I want people to think looks cool, or makes my day-to-day life harder or not practical to use because of what other people might think. I want to get something that is versatile for my needs. I drive a lot, so the good gas mileage would be nice. Even if I didn't drive a lot, the good gas mileage would be nice. The bed is really, honestly, does most of what I need, and if not, I can always use straps. Which, funny enough, this has a heavier payload than my Colorado. I believe my Colorado Z71 has about a 12 or 1,300 pound payload. This has 1,500. It's comfort inside and out, and has nice features. It's comfortable. Like I said, I've gotten older, I've definitely valued comfort, but if I want to take road trips or take people, especially like transporting my girlfriend, if we want to go to the somewhere out, or if I have to go to the hospital for her, or I want to take people out to lunch, this is a very comfortable vehicle to be in. But like I said, the point I was making, and this is probably one of the longest freaking Honda Ridgeline reviews, and it's not even all about the truck, really. But this unfortunately has the auto stop start. You just got to turn that off. But people really need to realize and understand what they actually need and what actually benefits their life. Like I said in the beginning of this video, you see a ton of people driving around these big, lifted trucks and, expensive trucks. Heck, not even in trucks. People are driving these, top of the line Toyotas and Lexuses and all this sort of thing, and driving more SUV than what they need, Tahoes and Suburbans. And then you actually analyze what their life is and what they need, like what would actually benefit them. It's not that. But this vehicle right here, if you need a truck mid-size, like I said, if you're hauling, off-roading and stuff like that, you need very big payload, very big bed. If you're towing, which this vehicle I believe tows 5,000 pounds, but if you're towing very heavy things, don't get this. But if you're doing what a majority of truck owners do on a day-to-day basis, and not even just truck owners, SUV, if you want somewhere to put dirty things and you want an open bed and more capability, this Ridgeline's perfect. It really is. But I really do think that if people do not overextend themselves and get vehicles that personally people don't really need, or it makes their life a little bit, not as practical. Think about how practical it is driving around Tundra. If you're really not using it for what it is. Now, if you're using it for a bed and hauling and towing, get it. I get that perfectly. But if you're just driving to the office and you make dump runs every now and then, go to the grocery store and stuff, is a Tundra really practical? No, not at all. If anything, you're giving yourself more of an effort to drive every single day. So, anyway, this has been way too long of a Honda Ridgeline video. But, like I said, I drove this vehicle for about 73 miles now, and it's made me think a lot. It made me think a long, hard thought on what I actually need out of a vehicle, what I actually need out of a truck, and just thought about the practicality of what most people do. And I think this thing does a lot of things well. It's not going to do any of the extremes well, but it's not meant for that. It's not meant for that at all. So, and again, all this in a package vehicle that has 27,000 miles. This is being offered for around $31,000, $32,000. Heck of a value. you try to get a Tacoma or Tundra with as many of these features with as low of a mileage for that price. You won't. It's a fact of that. So if you made it to this long of a video, which I think is again wild for a Ridgeline, but I think it was it's fun to do, but it was good to get all my thoughts on this truck. And heck, when it comes time to ever getting a new vehicle, a different vehicle, if it's time to get out of my Colorado, then I think this is what I'll get. So, peace.